Hello, we'll be solving the 2024 General Mathematics WASSCE Core 2 questions. Core 2 refers to the essay type questions for mathematics. And this type of paper has two sections, Section A and Section B. Section A has 5 questions and Section B has 8 questions, which are slightly more complex compared to Section A questions. So I advise that you spend more time when solving Section B as compared to Section A. So we'll be attempting to solve Section A questions here in under 30 minutes. The questions are displayed on the screen. So question 1 states that the time taken to buy fuel at a filling station varies directly as the number of vehicles V in a queue. That is, T here varies directly as V. Then we are told that it also varies with the number of, inversely as the number of pumps P. That is, T varies inversely as number of pump P. Now this is a joint variation. That is, it implies that T varies directly as V and inversely as P. And when we remove the sign for variation and replace that with the equality sign, we have to introduce the constant K. Therefore, T equals KV over P. Now, in the question, we're given further information. That is, in a station with 5 pumps, that is, when P equals 5, it took 10 minutes, T equals 10, to fuel 20 vehicles, V equals 20. So using this information, we will then find the value of K. So using this equation that we have here, our T is 10 equals K multiplied by V, which is 20, divided by P, which is 5. Now, when you cross multiply here, we have 5 multiplied by 10, which will give us 50, equals K multiplied by 20, which implies that K equals 50 divided by 20, which is, when we divide by 10, we have 5 over 2. So now that we have the value for K, we can then go on to solve for the first part of the question, which says we should show the relationship between T, P, and V. So A, that implies that T equals K, which is 5 over 2 V divided by P. So this can then be written as T equals 5V over 2P. That is A. Now B. B says should find the time it takes to fuel 50 vehicles at a station with 2 pumps. That is, P equals 2, V equals 50. So find T. To find T here, T equals, now from our formula here, 5 multiplied by V. V is 50. All divided by 2 multiplied by P, which is 2. So what we have here is 5 multiplied by 50, which would give us 250 divided by 4. Therefore, T equals, now when we divide 250 by 4, we would get, now 4 in 25, that is 6, remainder 1, and then in 10, that is 2, so 0.5. So we have 62.5 minutes. And then C. The number of pumps required to fuel 40 vehicles in 20 minutes. that is t here is given as 20 minutes, and then v is given as 40. So we are to find p. So to find p, let's make p the subject from this equation. We see that p equals 5v over 2t. Therefore, we would have 5 multiplied by v, which is 40, divided by 2 multiplied by t, which is 20. Now we can divide this straight because 20 here goes once, 20 here twice. And then 20 here is 1, 2 here is 1, 2 here is 1, leaving p to equal 5 times 1, which is 5. So 5 pumps. And that is for question 1. For question 2, we're told that a car traveled a distance of 2x plus 13 in kilometers at 67.5 kilometers per hour, and then 5x minus 20 in bracket kilometers at 72 kilometers per hour. So if the total time taken for the entire journey is 90 minutes, find the value of x. Now, using this information, let's break it down. We can see that we can find time. The relation between time, distance, and speed is that time equals distance over speed. And since we are given two different distances at different speed, we will then name that T1 and T2. That is, T1 is, according to the information in the question, we have 2x plus 13 over the speed used there is 67.5. And then our T2 is given as 5x minus 20, and the speed for that distance is 72 kilometers per hour. Now the total time given is 90 minutes. That is, t equals 90 minutes, which is actually our t1 plus t2. So let's use this to find the value of x, which the question asks us to do. So we then put 90 minutes to equal t1, which is 2x plus 13. Let's put this in bracket, over 67.5 plus t2, which is 5x minus 20 divided by 72. Now, when solving questions like this, ensure that you're very careful, especially with negative and positive signs. So to solve this, we have to take LCM of the denominators. Therefore, 90 equals, now when we take LCM, the LCM of the denominators, same thing as saying 67.5 multiplied by 72. And then 67.5 out of the LCM, that is the LCM divided by 67.5 would give us 72. So we expand this bracket with it, so we'll have 2x plus 13 here, then the plus sign, and then our denominator here divided by 72 will give us 67.5, which will go into this bracket 5x minus 20. Now, let's linearize this equation. So that is, I can just cross multiply here, and then I'll have 90 multiplied by 67.5 multiplied by 72 equals, now let's open these brackets. So 72 multiplied by 2, and then we have 144. This is 144 x plus 72 multiplied by 13. And that is 936. Now, plus times plus will give us plus. And then we have 67.5 337.5 multiplied by 5x, and that is 337.5x. And then plus times minus gives us minus, and then 67.5 multiplied by 20, and that gives us 1,350. Now what we do here is we collect like terms, but let's solve the left hand side first, where we have 90 multiplied by 67.5 multiplied by 72, and that will give us 437,400. And this equals, now we have 144x plus 337.5. So 144 plus 337.5, and that gives us 481.5x. And then 936 minus 1,350 gives us negative 414. So to solve for x, we make it the subject of this equation. So 481.5x equals the difference of, that is when we take this negative sign to this part, we have positive. So it becomes 437,400 plus 414. So let's add that. 437,400 plus 414. And now we have 437,814. So when we divide both sides by 481.5, we will get the value of x. 481.5. And that gives us 909.27. So the value of x is 909.27 kilometers. That's the distance, the total distance traveled by the car. Question 3 tells us that a circular floor of a building is to be tiled with ceramic tiles, each of side 40 centimeters by 40 centimeters. Now, if the perimeter of the floor is 66 meters, calculate, correct to the nearest whole number, the number of tiles required to complete the completely tile the floor. Now, one thing I will notice here is that the dimensions of the tiles is given in centimeters, while the perimeter of the floor, which is basically the circumference of the circular floor, is given in meters. So in order to get it right, we convert both of them to the same unit. So 40 centimeters is same thing as having 0.4 meters, right? So the area of the tile of each tile will then be given as 0.4 meters multiplied by 0.4 meters, and this will give us 0.16 meters. Remember to put the square, so meter squared. Now, recall that the question tells us the perimeter of the circular floor, and perimeter is something as circumference. So circumference is given as 2 pi r, and this equals, in the question we are told that the perimeter there is 66 meters, right? Now, when we take pi as 22/7, that means we have 2 multiplied by 22/7 multiplied by r equals 66 meters. Now, solving for r here, we can then have 44 over 7 multiplied by r equals 66 meters. So r therefore becomes 66 meters multiplied by the reciprocal of 44/7. So we have 7/44. Now we can break this down. See that 11 goes in 44 4 times, while 11 goes in 66 6 times. So what we have here is 6 multiplied by 7 all divided by 4. So our R here becomes 6 times 7 divided by 4, which is 10.5 meters. Now that we have the radius, we can then go on to find the area of that circular floor. Now, area of the floor is pi r squared. That's the area of a circle. So applying pi as 22/7, we would have 22/7 multiplied by r, which is 10.5. So squared times 10.5. So what we have as our area here then becomes 22 multiplied by 10.5 multiplied by 10.5 all divided by 7. And that gives us 346.5 meter squared. So now that we have the area of the floor, we can then find the number of tiles required. Number of tiles required. This would be the area of the floor divided by the area of each tile. So that is, we have 346.5 divided by, remember this is in meters squared, divided by the area of each tile, which is 0.16 meter squared. So easily meter square cancels meter square, and then our answer is 2,165.6 tiles. And since the question says we should do that to the nearest whole number, that is, this is approximately 2,166 tiles. And that's question 3. Now to solve question 4, we're given this circle here, and then in the question we are told that in the diagram ABCD is a circle with O at the center. Now the quadrilateral OBCD is given to us as a rhombus. Now one of the things we know about rhombus is that the opposite angles are equal, right? So therefore this has to be equal to this angle here, just as the angle here equals the angle here. And then when we continue with the question, we are told that ADO equals AOBA. Now what is ADO? This is A, this is D, this is O, that is we have Y here, equals OBA, which is also Y. And that BAD is T, this is B, A, and D. So this is T as inscribed in the question. So we are asked to find the value of T. In order to find the value of T, what we're going to look at is, first let's look at this line BD. Now when you consider this line BD, this line that joins them here, let's say that's a chord, right? And you see that the angle it subtends to the center here is O, and it also subtends to the circumference. And the theorem that comes to mind there is that the angle that subtends from a chord to the center is twice that at the circumference. So therefore, we can say that our BOD, now this is an angle, equals twice of BAD. So therefore, our BOD here equals twice of T. So let me just inscribe that here. This is 2T. Now recall earlier that I mentioned that the opposite angles of a rhombus are equal, right? So if this is 2T, therefore this angle here too should be 2T, right? So and since this line bisects the rhombus into 2 equal halves, that is this angle here, this angle here, this one here, and this one should be equal. So let's name them X x, x, and x. So by filling in this, it helps us to solve it and get our answer much faster. Now the first part we have to do is to find the value of t. So A, the value of t. To solve for t, I'm going to consider these opposite angles here, this angle t here and this angle here. Now, we know that t plus 2t should be 180. Now, this is because of a theorem that says that opposite angles of cyclic quadrilateral are supplementary. So if that's the case, then we can go on to solve for t. Therefore, t plus t will give us 3t equals 180 degrees. And this implies that t equals 180 degrees divided by 3, which would give us 60 degrees. And just like that, we have solved for t. Now to solve for y. In order to solve for y, let's look at this triangle here. That is, considering triangle so when we consider triangle BAD, okay, now when we look at this triangle here, we have x here, we have x here. When we look at that, we can find the sum of all the interior triangles there. All the interior angles of that triangle should give us 180 degrees, since sum of angles in a triangle is 180 degrees. Therefore, we should have that t, which is this here, plus y plus x plus x plus y equals 180 degrees. But here we have only the value, the size of t. We do not have the size of angle x. So to solve for x, I'm going to look at the other triangle we have here, which is BOD. Now, considering BOD, we should have that 2t plus x should be 180 degrees. So let's get the value of the size of angle x. So 2 multiplied by t, which we got as 60 degrees, plus x gives us 2x equals 180 degrees. And this implies that 2x equals, now 180 minus 2 times 60, which is 120. So that is 180 minus 120 to give us 60 degrees. Therefore, x is 30 degrees. So now that we have the size of x, we can then come back to this equation to solve for y. So using that, we have t already. T is 60 degrees plus y will give us 2y, and x plus x is 2x. And since x is 30 degrees, we can plug that in to give us 180 degrees, which implies now that 2y equals 180 degrees minus, now 2 times 30 is 60, and when we add 60 to 60, we have 120. Therefore, y equals 60 divided by 2, which is 30 degrees. And then finally, to find for C in question 4, we are looking for the size of angle ADC. Angle ADC refers to this angle here with D as center here. This is A, D, and then C. That is the whole of this angle here. Now, recall that this is also x as is equal to this since this line bisects the rhombus. So to find the size of that angle, that will be the sum of all these angles here. So we have y plus x plus x, which is, now y is 30 plus x, which is also 30 plus x, 30 degrees. And when we sum all of this together, we get 90 degrees. And that's it on question 4. Now to solve question 5, we're given that in a basket it contains 3 gold-plated marbles, so G equals 3. And then 4 diamond marbles, so D equals 4. And then some silver marbles, so let's say our S, which is unknown, so let's call that X. And we're told that 2 marbles were drawn from the basket at random, one after the other without replacement. So since no replacement is done, we have to take note of that. And then the probability that the 2 were silver is 1 over 15. So to solve this, we take the probability of the first peak and then the second peak, and then we solve. So probability that the first peak is silver is given by number of silver marbles, which is x, over total number of marbles, 3 plus 4 plus x. This gives us x over 7 plus x. Now, probability that the second peak is also silver. Now, the number of silver marbles has reduced by 1, so we would have x minus 1 over the total number of marbles has also reduced by 1. So 7 plus x minus 1 gives us 6 plus x. Now the probability that these 2 peaks are silver is given as 1 over 15. Therefore, x over 7 plus x multiplied by x minus 1 over 6 plus x should be 1 over 15. Now let's multiply this. X times x, that's x squared, minus x times 1, that's x, over 7 times 6, that's 42. 7 times x, that's plus 7x. X times 6, that's plus 6x, plus x squared, since x times x gives us x squared. And all of this equals 1 over 15. When we simplify further, we see that x squared minus x all over 42 plus 13x plus x squared equals 1 over 15. Now we can cross multiply. So we would have 15x squared minus 15 to equate with 42 plus 13x plus 13x plus x squared. Now when we collect like terms, that is 15x squared minus x squared minus 15x minus 13x minus 42 should equal 0. Now tidy that up and then we'll have 14x squared minus 28x minus 42 equals 0. Now we can solve this using the quadratic formula, or we can simplify it further to make the numbers manageable. So all these numbers are divisible by 14, so divide through by 14. And that will give us x squared minus 2x minus 3 equals 0, where our a is 1, b is minus 2, and c is minus 3. So applying the quadratic formula, x squared minus 2x minus 3 equals 0, we should have that x equals minus b, that is minus minus 2, which will give us plus 2, plus or minus square root of minus 2 squared minus 4 times A, which is 1, times C, which is minus 3, all over 2 times A, which is 1. Then our x becomes 2 plus or minus square root of 4. Minus times minus gives us plus, and 4 times 3 is 12, all over 2. So x becomes 2 plus or minus square root of 16 over 2, which is then 2 plus or minus 4 over 2. Therefore, x equals 2 plus 4 over 2, or 2 minus 4 over 2. Now, since we cannot have negative numbers of marbles, so we're going to use the plus side. So the number of silver marbles becomes 2 plus 4, which is 6, over 2, which would give us 3. So we have 3 silver marbles. And that's all the question in section A. Thank you.